So as you guys know, a lot of the things that I talk about with Clovis are how to get you guys to the point where you don't need me anymore. It's basically the opposite of what every other health and wellness professional wants to do. They want you stuck to their teat for the rest of your life, so you have to keep paying them for the new programs they release and blah, 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 blah. I don't like to operate that way. I want to give you guys the tools that you need to be healthy and happy. As you know, I take nutrition, health, and wellness just as a stepping stone for the rest of your life. That's what this episode is. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to give you guys some new tools in your arsenal to get yourselves healthy. I'm basically going to outline how in the next 60 days, if you really just took 60 days, educated yourself, and made a few small lifestyle changes, and then did a little bit of biohacking, which is going to be fun. We're going to get into that. You would do more for your own health and wellness than every doctor or nutritionist or trainer you've ever talked to in your entire life combined. Except, of course, for me, right? Seriously, this one's going to give you everything you need to be extremely confident in your own metabolic health at the very least. Your own metabolic health, which is very important. And there was one called Align Your Life with Your Goals, where I talk about what are you looking to do. Most of you don't want to study biochemistry every day. I know that you don't because you don't. If you wanted to, you would do it, right? So most of you don't want to do the things that I've done. You don't want to put in that amount of work, those years of studying that I did. So I just want to get you to a point where you have the tools that you need to move the F on, everybody, to just enjoy life. So let's talk about metabolic health. And first things first, as you guys know, I'm going to be talking about blood glucose monitoring in this episode. First thing I have to do here is give a big, giant, virtual hug, virtual high five, huge shout out to my buddy, Robb Wolf, and his book, Wired to Eat. So I need you guys to understand, everything that I teach you tonight, this entire glucose experiment, was taught to me by Robb Wolf via Wired to Eat, which is a fantastic book. I highly recommend everybody read this book. It's one of my favorite nutrition books, period. Bottom line, end of the day, Robb Wolf is always far ahead of his time. He was telling people about blood glucose testing long before the biohackers like me came in and started figuring out how to get devices like the Dexcom G6 continuous blood glucose monitor through our doctors, even though we don't have diabetes. How can we still get prescriptions? I pay for these things out of pocket. Before biohackers like us came in and worked the system and figured out how to use these blood glucose monitors for our own biohacking experiments, Robb was telling people about it, right? He's way ahead of his time. He's brilliant. The guy knows more about biochemistry than I think I could ever wish to know about biochemistry. So huge shout out to Robb. A lot of this work is not my work. I'm just going to walk you through my experiment, piggybacking on the shoulders of a giant who is Robb Wolf. Okay, so right now I have a continuous blood glucose monitor hooked up to me just behind my love handle, which is out of frame here, but I have a continuous blood glucose monitor hooked up to me, and actually right now I don't have it on because the blood glucose monitor lasts for 10 days, the specific sensor. So I took that off, giving my skin a little breather. I'm gonna do the sauna, cold shower tonight, scrub off the sticky remnants of the old glucose monitor, and inject another sensor into myself tonight for the next 10 days, okay? So I use the continuous blood glucose monitor, and I also use this little guy. This is just a Precision Extra. You can get this for $23 on Amazon, okay? Literally, 23 bucks on Amazon. So we'll talk about that in a second, other tools you can use. But if you've been following me on social media, you know that I've been doing these blood glucose experiments. Now, I had no idea that this was gonna happen, but the content that I posted has received more engagement than anything I've ever posted on social media in the history of Clovis. It's staggering. The sheer volume of messages and questions and confusion and comments that I'm receiving is absolutely staggering. So for that reason, I'm gonna dedicate this entire episode to teaching you what I've done, how I've done it, why I've done it, and how you can do it yourself. Now, spoiler alert, this is absurdly simple. It's absurdly simple, and it's remarkably inexpensive in 2019. Unbelievably inexpensive for all of you, okay? So first, I'm gonna walk you through what I've done over the past 10 days or so and why I've done it. Now, newsflash, if you are Clovis, wearing a continuous blood glucose monitor that tracks you 24 hours a day is super boring because it's literally just flat. That's it. There's no blood glucose spikes. They just don't exist, right? So it's literally just flat across the whole day. So a continuous blood glucose monitor via Clovis is almost kind of a waste of money. It's just boring data, okay? Because the Clovis plan is perfect for human health, period. And I have all the data to back that up. Like, if I had all my 1,000 clients that I've worked with hooked up to a continuous blood glucose monitor and could track them from day one of their journey to where they are now and show you those results, I could sell my Clovis nutrition protocols for literally millions of dollars to the richest people in the world, right? Unfortunately, I haven't been able to hook up blood glucose monitors to all you guys during your journeys. But currently, again, I'm using a combination of the Dexcom and the Precision Extra. Now, the Precision Extra also allows me to calibrate the Dexcom. The Dexcom has to be calibrated because it's an interstitial fluid. It's measuring blood glucose from my interstitial fluid, not from my actual blood, right? So it measures interstitial fluid, runs an algorithm, gives me a projected serum level of blood glucose, okay? So I then take the Precision Extra and I test my actual blood, enter it into the app, and that helps the algorithm get more accurate as we go along. So over the course of 10 days, the sensor gets more and more accurate as I continue to calibrate it with this external blood glucose monitor that actually measures blood, okay? Now, to be clear, the Dexcom is prescription only. If you are a diabetic, you should absolutely take full advantage of this and ask your doctor for a Dexcom G6 prescription, okay? Now, I had to use a functional medicine doctor to get one, who's a very cool guy named Paul Saladino. Thanks, buddy, appreciate it. To get my hands on one. A conventional doc is never gonna give you one of these if you're not a diabetic, okay? They're just not gonna do it. And fair warning, I don't have health insurance. Strategically, I save money that way, believe it or not. I don't have health insurance. I paid $461 out of pocket to track for 30 days with the Dexcom. So it's literally $461 for 30 days of tracking with the Dexcom. It is expensive. And again, if you're on a Clovis plan and you don't plan on testing carbohydrates like we're gonna talk about tonight, if you just wanna see what happens, it's gonna be very expensive. You'd pay $461 just to see a flat line like this. I don't really recommend it unless you're actually going to test. Now, one other citizen science test that I want to touch on before we talk about testing blood glucose is your blood pressure, okay? Now, this is because of insulin resistance. I've told you guys this before, 100 million Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That is early stages or later stages of insulin resistance, and 80% of them don't even know that they have it, okay? That's critical to understand. So one of the low-hanging fruits for testing to hint at whether or not you have insulin resistance is actually blood pressure testing, okay? So if your blood pressure is normal, okay, good sign. Then you have prehypertension, which is systolic 120 from 1 to about 139, diastolic from about 80 to 89. Then you have stage 1 hypertension, which is systolic 140 to 159, diastolic 90 to 99. Then you have stage 2, just full-blown hypertension, and that is systolic over 160, diastolic over 100. If you are stage 2 hypertension, the odds of you having insulin resistance are quite high. So I want you to understand that. You may have insulin resistance if you are dealing with hypertension. And a quick note, here's what happens when a lot of people join Clovis. People join Clovis, they are significantly overweight, and they dive in, they're worried about their sugar detox, so they start doing salt shots exactly as I recommend, salt and water to get your electrolytes. Then they write to me and they're all angry. They're angry, or their wife is writing to me about how angry their husband is or how angry they are, and they're mad at me because they're retaining water like crazy. They're swollen, they're retaining water, and they basically decide that I have poisoned them, that I'm a jerk for telling them to do salt shots, so they say, clearly salt shots don't work for me, these salt shots are dangerous, I shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. What they don't realize is they've literally just been handed data that they are insulin resistant, okay? So as insulin levels increase, there's a hormone called aldosterone that also increases, and aldosterone causes the body to retain sodium, thus causes the body to retain water, okay? The salt shots I gave these people are not the problem. Their insulin resistance is the problem. So anybody who's dealt with that problem, I want you to think about that before you email me and try to nail me to a cross and yell at me for telling you to drink salt water. My salt shots are not the problem. Your metabolic dysfunction is the problem, okay? So that's a quick note. You should know your blood pressure before you go into this, and that might actually shed some light on what's gonna happen with your blood glucose numbers and will hint whether or not you're creeping in on diabetic, okay? Really important. So let's get into the testing and how it's done. Now, stage 1 of this, and this is also outlined in Robb's book, but I say you go Clovis, full-blown Clovis. Stage 1 is 30 days Clovis, okay? I really need you to go 30 days Clovis before you dive into doing any kind of blood glucose testing. So you can do 30 days Clovis, then we're gonna get into the blood glucose testing. 30 days, no cheating, do Clovis. That's gonna help these tests be way more accurate, okay? We can correct a little bit of the metabolic dysfunction to get you more accurate testing. This is particularly for those of you that test your blood pressure and have high blood pressure or other hints or symptoms of insulin resistance, okay? So after 30 days, you can get yourself a blood glucose monitor. You do not need a Dexcom. Again, the Dexcom is 24 hours a day. It's expensive. It's prescription only. If you're a diabetic, go get a prescription. You should have one on anyway, right? So get yourself the Precision Extra or the Keto Mojo. So you need a monitor. Now, I'll put this all in the show notes, but this is literally Precision Extra. So the word Precision Extra. And then there's Keto Mojo. Precision Extra is like 23 bucks. Keto Mojo is like 50 bucks. But here's the thing. Both of these also read ketones. So they read these little strips. They read blood glucose strips. Sorry, I dropped the strip. They read little blood glucose strips, and they also read ketone strips. So you can measure your blood ketones as well if you're interested in ketosis. Now, Keto Mojo has much cheaper ketone strips, but Precision Extra has cheaper glucose strips and is a cheaper reader. They're both great, right? So get a Precision Extra, geez, tongue twisters, Precision Extra or a Keto Mojo, so now you have your monitor, right? Now what you do is you begin testing. So 30 days Clovis, then you grab your monitor, now you get into testing. So let's talk about testing. You're going to choose a carbohydrate source. Particularly, choose a carbohydrate source that you would want to have in your daily diet. It's a little different for me because I'm technically a nutrition influencer, running social media channels and all that. So I've just been testing foods like blueberries that I would never put in my daily diet, or fermented sourdough bread that I would never put in my daily diet, right? So I've just been kind of messing around because it's fun on social media and people are giving me ideas. You should be picking foods that are part of your staple diet right now, or foods that you want to be part of your staple diet going forward. So you need 50 grams. You need 50 grams of net carbs from a single food source, no other foods. 50 grams net carbs of a single food source. So for sweet potatoes, that's about 10 ounces of sweet potatoes. Blueberries, I think I ate 15 ounces of blueberries. It was 415 grams of blueberries. I think it was about 62 grams of white rice. It was like 3/4 cup of white rice. The fermented sourdough was just like 1.5 pieces of sourdough bread, right? I did glucose and water, just 50 grams of straight dextrose and water. But no matter how you slice it, you need to figure out the calculations for 50 grams of net carbs from a single source of food, okay? And you're gonna eat this in the morning on an empty stomach. Very important. This should be the first bite of food of the day. You should be fasted. If I had it my way, you'd be fasted for 12 hours from dinner the night before, completely fasted. Eat these 50 grams of net carbohydrates. That's it. Don't eat any other foods. You're gonna wait 2 hours. Water, black coffee seems to be fine. Black coffee can kind of impact your glucose levels. I'd prefer to see you do just water. So if you really want super clear data, I would do just water. So you're gonna eat this food, then you're gonna set a timer for 2 hours, okay? So eat, this is 50 grams net carbs, eat. You're gonna wait. Here's my little clock. That's a clock. Wait 2 hours. Okay, eat 50 grams net carbs from a single food source, set a timer for 2 hours, and at the 2 hour mark, test your blood glucose. Literally as simple as that. That's the whole test. That's it, okay? So test your blood glucose after 2 hours. Now, at that 2 hour mark, you want that number to be either at or below 115, okay? So after 2 hours of eating 50 grams net carbs from a single food source, you want to test your blood glucose and you want that number to come in under 115. So if it's under 115, that food is probably safe for your physiology. That's considered a safe food for you, okay? Now, if it's above 115, that food's probably not a great idea for you. At the very least, it shouldn't be a staple for you in your diet, in a daily diet, or even a few times a week. This should be a very, very rare occurrence for you to eat this food, okay? That's it. That's the entire blood glucose test. This is all that I've done. That's it. There's no crazy magic behind it or anything. That's literally it. You can do this, okay? So you want to be under 115. That's very important. Now we're going to dig into the most common questions that I've received about this.